I died with $160 in my virtual wallet. I had enough money to buy out the entire shop, refresh it 5 times, and buy it out again. And yet, I still got knocked out of the run like an absolute amateur. If you play Balatro, you probably knew this exact feeling all too well. You called the economy back. You realized early on that for every $5 you hold on to, you get $1 of interest. So you started saving. Your cash counter shot up to the moon, and you felt completely untouchable. And then Ante 5 or Ante 6 rolled around, and you brutally crashed into a brick wall. Today, I'm going to prove one absolute fundamental rule that separates the great Balatro players from the ones who are constantly stuck in the mid game. That rule is simple. Saving is not scaling. Money in this game does not score points. Money is just the fuel. And you have a completely full tank of gas, but you haven't bothered to build an engine. You aren't going anywhere. Welcome to episode 7, where we are going to break down the economy of Balatro to its core and look at why being the richest player in the graveyard is the worst way to play. Let's start with the autopsy. We will call this case study the wealthy corpse. Take a look at my first run. I made it to Ante 6 and my bank account was proudly sitting at $160. My Joker setup actually seemed somewhat reasonable at the time, or at least my brain tricked me into thinking it was. I had one Joker giving me flat chips every time I played a flash. I had a second Joker giving me a flat plus multiplier for every single club card I played. But the real trap, that absolute nail in my coffin, was the third one, the Joker stencil. For those who don't know, this is a card that gives you a massive X mult, but only if you leave your other Joker slots empty. This card is a classic liar. It whispers in your ear, "Hey man, don't buy any more cards. Keep those slots empty and I will give you a huge multiplier. And hey, since you aren't buying cards, your money will just keep growing." It sounds like the perfect synergy, right? I am saving space, I'm saving money, and I'm getting a multiplier. What could go wrong? With that exact mindset, I drove straight into the big blind of Ante 6. This is the exact point in Balatro where the point requirements stop being polite. They stop growing linearly and start growing exponentially. I play my absolute best hand, a beautiful 5 card flush, all claps. My chips activate. My flat multiplier from the claps activates. Finally, the stencil multiplies it all. And the result? Absolutely pathetic. The score bar barely crawls halfway to the requirement. The screen fades to black and my run is over. Why did this happen? Because I ignored the most important law of Balatro's mathematics, the difference between static addition and dynamic multiplication. My build was completely static. The chips for the flash and the multiplier for the claps were giving me the exact same amount of points in NT6 that they were giving me back in NT3. They were not evolving, and the stencil joker, while it does provide an X mod, was locked at a fixed value because it was refusing to fill my empty slots. I manufactured my own stagnation. I said on $160 that I refused to spend just to maintain this illusion of powerful bonus, instead of investing that cash into actual permanent growth. Every winning run in Balatro is divided into two distinct economic phases. Phase 1 is the greed phase. In Antes 1 through 3, your only goal is to hit the $25 cap so you can maximize your interest. During this phase, you buy economy jokers. You hoard your cash, you skip rerolls, and you act like a total cheapskate. But phase 2 is the pivot. The pivot usually happens around NT4 or 5, and it is the single hardest psychological barrier to cross. The pivot is the exact moment you have to look at your perfectly oiled money-making machine and destroy it. You have to sell the card that has been giving you free money for the last 40 minutes to make room for a card that gives you power. You stop earning and you start scaling. Let's look at the other side of the coin. What happens if we take that same money and instead of hoarding it like a dragon, we aggressively reinvest it into our engine? Welcome to run number 2, the aggressive investor. Pay close attention to my bank balance in this run. I rarely break 10 or 15 bucks. From the perspective of someone who only watched beginner economy guides, I am playing like an absolute maniac. I'm zeroing out my account in almost every single shop. I am sacrificing my maximum interest. But look at what I'm actually doing with that money. I am treating the shop like an armory. I'm not I'm not just holding money. I am buying deck manipulation. I'm buying tarot packs, using dead cards to clone my aces, and justice cards to turn them into glass. I'm buying celestial packs to level up a secret, incredibly difficult hand to build. 5 of a kind. Deck manipulation is the ultimate form of scaling because it does not take up a joker slot, but it is incredibly expensive. Glass cards, specifically, are the ultimate proof that saving is a trap. They are expensive to make, and they are fragile. They have 1 in 4 chance to literally shatter and disappear from your deck after you play them. They are a massive financial risk. But watch what happens when you spend your money on power instead of hoarding it for interest. The real proof lies in the final showdown. Welcome to Ante Boss Blind, the Crimson Heart, the hardest boss in the game, which randomly disables one of your jokers every single hand. If you rely purely on static jokers and a fat bank account, you die here. Look at my bank balance. Exactly $0. I am completely broke. Why? because I pumped every single cent into my engine. I play 5 of a kind, aces. 4 of them are glass, and 1 is just a regular ace. It's not even a mathematically perfect hand. But because I spent my money building this engine, it doesn't need to be perfect. My jokers do their job, but the real magic is in the cards I invested in. The glass multipliers stack exponentially. In a single hand, the score shatters the requirement, hitting over 550,000 points. I beat the hardest boss in the game, dropping nearly 500,000 points in one hand, with literally $0 to my name. Let's wrap this up and lay down the ultimate takeaway for your next Balatro session. This game will brutally punish you for stagnation. Gold is not a high score. It is a tool. Yes, you should absolutely be greedy in the first few antes. Build a great economy. Hit your $25 cap and generate wealth. But you must recognize when the greed phase ends. When the game starts asking for tens of thousands of points, it is time to pivot. Sell your money-making jokers. Spend your bankroll on deck manipulation. Buy every planet card that fits your build. Feed your scaling jokers until they are massive. Spend every single dollar on making sure your score stops adding and starts multiplying. Because at the end of the day, having the biggest bank account in Balatro doesn't make you a winner. It just makes you the wealthiest loser at the table. If this breakdown finally helped you understand why you keep dying in Ante 6, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into strategy. I want to hear from you down in the comments. What is your absolute favorite scaling engine to build? Are you a deck manipulator? Do you spam the green joker? Or are you obsessed with building a deck full of steel cards? Let me know. Thanks for watching. This was the first mistake. See you before the next one.